Good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025. I am Graham Hughes, and you are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. Welcome, 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 especially to everyone in the chat here. We've got Veg Pie in there, we've got David Lilly, we've got Graham Haller, we've got Pygmalion, Rosie, Scott, Leapshing, Gwyneth, MH Carer. God, so many people. Wonderful to have you here this glorious sunny morning. I'm a bit overexposed, so I'm going to just sort that out. There you go. That's a bit better. Is it a bit better? I don't know. I'll do this and then the sun will go away. Anyway, if you'd like to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do is press on that lovely little juicy subscribe button and wait for about 30 seconds and you will be subscribed to the channel, which really helps us out. Also, you know, if you could mention this show to other people, mention this channel to people that you know and say, hey, we watch this guy in the morning and he goes off on these mad rants about stuff and it's quite cathartic. Well, I assume it's cathartic. I hope it's cathartic. But yes, mad rants. Let's go. So today we're going to be talking obviously about Ukraine. There was a phone call yesterday. This was, Trump's call with Putin the other day was supposed to secure a ceasefire. Instead, he got a hockey match and a vague pause on energy infrastructure attacks while Russia bombed two hospitals in Sumy and hit Ukrainian railways. Trump's lunatic plan now is for US ownership of nuclear power plants in Ukraine. This isn't a real strategy. This is a mafia-style shakedown dressed up as diplomacy. I mean, this is just nuts. He's going to take over Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. How's he going to do that? The Russians are operating that plant at the moment. Actually, it's not online. It's not making any electricity at the moment, but it still needs to be looked after because otherwise you could be facing another Chernobyl. Yeah, which nobody really, well, maybe the Russians want that, but no one else really wants it. I mean, you got to understand why that little rat man, what's his name, Putin, you got to understand why he's so afraid right now, why he's lashing out in the way that he is, because everyone hates Russia. Apart from Trump, everybody hates Russia because Russia has just been throwing its weight around for the last sort of 25 years, acting like a bully in the playground, especially to the former USSR states around Russia. The USSR comprised of 15 countries, many of which did not want to be part of the USSR. It also comprised of, they weren't members, they weren't SSRs, but you also had countries like Czechoslovakia, Poland, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, that fell behind the communist umbrella and weren't allowed to do their own shit. If they tried to do their own shit, the Russians would invade with soldiers from another part of the Iron Curtain area, and kill people. They'll go and kill civilians. That's what they did. That's what they like doing. That's what they like telling people to do. So we had this Prague Spring. We had the various uprisings which were put down brutally by the forces in, let's say, Moscow. Okay, let's not blame all of Russia, I guess, even though I will say it again, Russia's a bit of a shithole. Honestly. If you said to someone, where are you going on holiday? And they said Russia, what would your reaction be? I mean, even before all this, 15 years ago, someone said, I'm going to Russia on holiday. You'll think, oh, hope you have a nice time. But anyway, yeah, Moscow. Moscow has been causing trouble now for, centuries, really. But since they've picked it up since the Second World War. And don't forget, one of the reasons why Germany felt so empowered to go out and attack France and the Netherlands and Belgium and Poland and wanted to march on to Russia is because Hitler and Stalin had a secret deal where they divvied up Europe between each other, and Russia wanted Poland. It was like, Moscow wanted Poland, and Berlin was like, no, we'll have that. They wanted the Danzig corridor, which would connect up to what's now Kaliningrad, which was part of the Prussian Empire back in the day, but it was blocked off by the fact that Poland was a country, so there was a little exclave of Germany hanging out near the Baltic states. Russia had this deal, or Moscow had this deal, the Soviet Union had this deal with Nazi Germany. And it's arguable that had that deal not been made, Hitler wouldn't have felt so empowered to go and invade other countries around Europe and with what he thought was impunity. Tucker Carlson was very impressed by his trip to Moscow, says Anne Phillips. Well, exactly. So look, this is Trump's complete foreign policy collapse. He's actively threatening Canada and Greenland. He's trashing US allies like Europe while cozying up to Putin and Netanyahu. He's undermining NATO cohesion by giving China, Russia, and Iran free rein. And of course, Europe, as we know, can no longer rely on the US. This is why the coalition of the willing has been formed. There is going to be a meeting today. Look, Ukraine is in a desperate position at the moment because of the withdrawal of American support. Russia is escalating despite fake diplomatic overtures, as it always does. I mean, what's the definition of madness? It's doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you can get another result. I've got another definition of madness for you. It's trusting someone who has let you down 1,000,000 times before. Like, they've let you down every time, and you're like, no, this time they'll do as they say. They won't let me down this time. And then you're left there waiting for Godot to turn up. The ceasefire was a lie. Putin is still bombing cities and infrastructure. And Ukraine is holding its ground, but it is struggling. It's lost Kirk. Well, it's losing Kirk. It is fighting back in Sumy, and it desperately needs air defences. And let's not forget, as we often say on this channel, Putin will not stop. So we're not the only ones to say this. Obviously, people say it on other channels as well. But he won't stop because he's a psychopathic narcissist, and this is what they're like. He's got his eye on the Moldova, the Baltics, even Poland. If Ukraine falls, NATO's credibility will be in tatters, which is what Trump wants. And a Russian victory emboldens China and Taiwan. Iran is emboldened in the Middle East, and every tin pot dictator around the world who has his eye on the neighboring country because of their resources there. For example, Venezuela, which had a referendum last year saying that they should invade their neighbour Guyana and steal 2/3 of its land because there's oil in their jungles. Well, it's not actually in the jungle, it's in the sea, but whatever. So here's what I think that Europe should do, and this is the meat of what I want to get into today. Europe cannot afford to sit on its hands anymore. It really can't. I want to see a full-scale military mobilization. I'm probably going to piss off people watching this who are doves and don't want this, but I can only see the way to stop a bully is by force. We can't keep tickling the bollocks of this fascist dictator in the Kremlin who has murdered a British citizen using his agents, his Russian agents, murdered a British citizen using a highly toxic nerve agent on British soil. That alone should be enough for a freaking war. To say, no, mate, you're getting beaten back into your box where you belong. Back to the 90s, back when Russia was a funny little basket case and people had to queue up for fucking bread. Fuck him. Stop believing this bullshit. He's got this nuclear arsenal. He hasn't got a nuclear arsenal. They can't even look after a nuclear power plant. They can't get a nuclear power plant online. Never mind look after nuclear weapons. He's just a saber rattler. He's just an absolute saber rattler. And we need to wake up to that fact and beat him back into submission. Beat Russia back to where it belongs, which is, just above Mongolia in more ways than one. Sorry, might sound a bit xenophobic, might sound a bit Russiaphobic. I don't care. Honestly, at this point, they can fuck off. They blew up a plane full of people. MH17 had over 100 people on board and they blew it out the sky. Innocent civilians blown out the sky by the Russians. They got away with it. They invaded Crimea, got away with it. They've kidnapped 19,000 children who are now being routinely sexually abused in Russia. 19,000 children. If you are upset about what's happening in Gaza, and goddamn you should be, because it's very, very upsetting. But either way, whether you're upset about, well, you should be upset about both things, about the fact that they took children as hostages, but also the fact that Israel's response has been disproportionate, brutal, horrific, and just beyond the pale, absolutely beyond the pale. But Hamas, they took a handful of children. They took a handful of children, which is bad enough. Taking one child, kidnapping one child is bad enough. That is something that should lead to a life in jail. Putin has kidnapped 19,000 European children to take them to be sexually abused by psychopaths and sadists in Russia. Do you think that we should just have diplomacy? You think there's you think there's a way out of this that involves not going at it against Putin? Look, Europe's already transitioning to a wartime economy. You can see it. Weapons production's gone up, mass production of drones, artillery shells, HIMARS, long-range missiles, all that kind of stuff. We need to increase our tank and air defense system production. And also we need to disentangle ourselves from the United States of America, who are no longer a reliable ally. They have aligned themselves. Just, they haven't even done it like secretly because they're too stupid. They've done it in the full glare of the media spotlight. They've aligned themselves with Russia. They've aligned themselves with Moscow, with the Kremlin, with Putin, with a murderer who has murdered a British citizen. At least one that we know of. The British citizens on the MH17 flight as well, wasn't there? These people have murdered Brits. They've invaded our continent. They've killed over 100,000 Ukrainians. And it's got to stop. And this is the only way to stop them. Trump saying, oh yeah, I'll look after your nuclear power plant for you. If you pay me. Fuck off. We've got to go this alone without America. And do you know what? We've done it before. We've done it before and we can do it again. The Battle of Britain was fought without America's help, really. I mean, obviously we had logistics coming in, but we can get that from anywhere. It doesn't have to come from America. So yeah, we need to deploy Western troops in what we'll call non-combat roles for now. French, British, Polish, Baltic forces can help train, secure logistics, and provide air support for Ukraine. Go into Ukraine, get boots on the ground. That is Putin's worst nightmare. He'll see them as NATO boots on the ground. Fine, whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to say they are. We'll call them little green men. Don't give a fuck. Just to put them in there. Put them in there. Give Ukraine long-range weapons and air support. Get them is it the Taurus missiles from Germany, Storm Shadows from the UK, F-16s from NATO, lift restrictions on strikes within Russia. Ukraine must be able to hit Russian air bases, supply lines, military hubs. Clear the Black Sea of Russian dominance, establish a NATO-enforced corridor for Ukrainian grain supplies. So they can get money coming into the country that doesn't necessarily have to come from us. Obviously, a lot will, but they can make some money themselves. And obviously, those grain supplies are essential for places in the northern Sahara regions where they rely on Ukrainian grain to keep people alive. We also need to establish, provide Ukraine with naval drones, fuckloads on anti-ship missiles, mine clearance systems to make the Black Sea deadly for the rest of the Russian fleet. They've already taken out half the Russian fleet on their own without a navy. Imagine what they could do with our support, our full-blooded support. Don't forget, we can't put military equipment into the Black Sea through the Dardanelles in Turkey because of a long-standing agreement. I think it's called the Montreal Protocol. Someone can look that up and correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But this basically says that military warships cannot traverse the Dardanelles, which means that the Black Sea fleet is trapped in the Black Sea and they can't get more ships into the Black Sea to help defend that fleet. So whatever's there at the moment in terms of boats, once they're gone, they're gone. And Russia can't turn up with a submarine and do all that mad shit. So yeah, Ukraine should have a free rein to strike on Russian refineries, pipelines, and transport hubs. A crippled Russian oil economy, oil industry equals a bankrupt Russian war machine. They still need money. They still need to pay their mates in North Korea and in the Sahel regions of North Africa or wherever they get their troops from these days. And you know, we could see a cyber warfare going. Make it so. Cyber warfare. Western intelligence could cripple Russian command systems. I don't know why we don't do this. Expose and leak compromat on Russian elites. Turn Putin's allies against him. And then we've got defensive measures that we need to put in. So it's not just going to be aggressive helping Ukraine out to the hilt, but we need immediate deployment of anti-missile systems in Poland, in the Baltics, in Finland, all the way along that massive border. That'll shit old Vladimir up. All that border along Finland, which is a NATO country and it borders Russia. Put anti-missile systems all the way up there. And Romania as well, which obviously Putin has designed on mass troop rotations along with NATO's eastern flank to make it clear that an attack on one NATO country equals war. And we need total trade blockade. No EU imports whatsoever of Russian oil, gas, or raw materials at all. Force India and China to pick a side. If you trade with Russia, you don't trade with us. Really simple, right? And the thing here is this, right? The economy of Europe is fucking massive. China wants to sell stuff to Europe, clearly, because it's a massive market. India wants to sell stuff to Europe because it's a massive market. They are aligned, perhaps politically, with Russia because they like the strongman dictator bullshit, and it gives them their territorial ambitions in Kashmir or in Taiwan or in the Spratly Islands. It gives them the thing they need to say, oh, you know, we're gonna expand our already massive countries. But Russia has no money. Russia buys fuck all in comparison with Europe when it comes from buying stuff from China. Like, because the people there have no money. There's about 7 oligarchs who have got all the money. And the rest of the people there live in abject poverty. I know there's a burgeoning middle class, but that's been destroyed by this war. They're not buy shit. So force them to pick a side. Say to China, look, all of Europe got together and said to China, listen, stop supporting the Russians or we will stop trading with you. End of. Because we buy a lot more stuff from China than they buy from us. Europe's already got a very strong internal market. We sell stuff to each other. We don't need to buy Chinese goods if we don't want to. They're already fending off a trade war with America right now. They won't want this. Be hard. Go hard. These people don't respect weakness. They don't respect diplomacy. They don't respect, oh, please, would you mind doing a favor for us? Fuck favors. Fuck soft power right now. We need to go hard with these people who are propping up the Russian war machine. And we need to say to India and China, it's time to pick a side. You can pick Russia if you like. There's no money in it, but go on. Do it. Fucking do it. We need a seizure of all Russian state assets in the West, or just all Russian assets. Not just we've got 300 billion in frozen assets. Take it. Every time this is brought up, Starmer says, oh, it's quite complicated because he wants to go down the legal route. Fuck the legal route. Just take it. Did Putin go down the legal route when he invaded Ukraine? Did he? Did he go down the legal route when he invaded Georgia? South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Did he take the legal route when he blew up a fucking passenger jet full of people? Did he take the legal route when he murdered Dawn Sturgis on British soil? Did he? Did he fuck? No, he fucking didn't. So why are we going, oh, well, we've got to look at the, the legal ramifications of taking this money from Russia. Fuck them. Take the fucking money. Give it to Ukraine. That's it. End of. And all that Russian shit around the world, those fucking luxury yachts, we're taking them. They're ours now. All that property in Belgravia, owned by Russian oligarchs, we'll have that. Thank you very much, dickheads. They're leaving it to fucking rot and ruin anyway. They're not looking after these places, not keeping them up clean and tidy. They just bought them as an investment. Russia owns half of fucking Belgravia in London, you know. Take it. Just take it. And when they go, say, tell you what, go to the International Criminal Court and plead your case. Oh no, you're not part of the International Criminal Court. Whoopsies. What a shame. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. It's a rule in life. There's absolute rule in life. Every time I've asked for permission to do anything I wanted to do, the answer's always been no. And when I've just gone and fucking done it, like my travel to every country in the world, I just went and did it. And I said to Lonely Planet, I'm doing this anyway, you can come along for the ride. If I had said to them, please may I do this, please give me money so I can go and do this thing, they would have told me to fuck off. It's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. All the Russian money sitting in Western banks comes to more than £300 billion. That is fucking mad, isn't it? Just take it. Just take it. Redirect it towards Ukraine's war effort and reconstruction. And then we've got, if China, India, or Middle Eastern countries continue to help Russia, they lose access to Western markets. We undermine Putin's grip on power. We have a massive media and cyber campaign exposing corruption, losses, and elite discontentment. Make sure that every Russian on their phone just gets, we brick all their phones. We put cyber attacks in everywhere we can, so the splash screen on their phone is I don't know, the stats for how many Russian soldiers have died in fighting this war in Ukraine, which he doesn't even admit to war still, does he? He still says it's a special military operation. We should do that. We just, go in the middle of the night, bomb the shit out the Russian front lines in Ukraine, right? Just bomb the shit out of them. And in the morning, he'll say, who did that? And we'll go, I don't know. It wasn't us. And when he goes, it was you. He said, oh, well, no, it wasn't. And then we just deny it. And then we say, well, actually, we think you bombed yourself, actually. You probably bombed yourself, didn't you? You probably bombed yourself. In any case, if you did do it, you deserved it. The narcissist prayer, throw it back at them. Throw it right back at them. And then we say, well, it wasn't us. It was little green men. It was just little green men who came and bombed the shit out of you. And then you got, the flooding Russia with anti-Putin propaganda through encrypted apps, encouraging Russian opposition groups, dissidents, and even military defections. Something I can't believe that we do not do. That for me is just mind-blowing. But then again, we don't support any left-wing content creators in this life, do we? So, and then we're surprised to go, oh my God, 90% of the stuff that's put online and that's political is all very, very right-wing and misogynistic. And you're like, yeah, because the left-wingers like me get fuck all. We're living off fucking minimum wage, mate. We're not raking it in like the Joe Rogans and the Ben Shapiros and the Jordan Petersons of the world. No. There's no millionaires backing us, mate. When we ask the millionaires for a couple £1,000 to get a project off the ground, their first instinct is, the answer's no. Now, what's the question? Before they've even read your email. Because I think there's about 7 millionaires in this country who are not Tory. And, they need to fucking shit or get off the pot, man. Seriously. They can't just stand there at the edges going, oh, well, we'll have a protest. We'll have a protest. No, fund the people who are getting the message out that you want to get out. Anyway, kick every last Russian diplomat out of Europe. No more pretending that Putin's regime is legitimate. It is not. Total diplomatic isolation. That's it. And this is, the end game is Putin's fall and Russia's collapse. Putin cannot survive a long war, plus economic collapse, and plus internal dissent. Europe's goal should be a post-Putin Russia that is weak, decentralized, and no longer a threat. We need to cut their balls off and kick them in the corner where they belong. We need to undermine his military supply chain, target Russian weapons production and imports. We need to exploit internal divisions, stoke tensions between the elites, the regional governors and warlords that run Russia. We need to promote alternative Russian leadership that isn't tied to Putin's imperialist fantasies. And the message to Moscow should be, lose now or lose everything. That's it. No more no more weakness. No more weakness. Act now. This is the most important fight of our generation. Trump is a complete idiot. He's making deals with dictators while weakening the West. Europe must seize the moment today. No more waiting for America. No more half measures. Defeating Putin is now the only way to ensure peace in Europe for decades to come. Otherwise, this is it. This is it, right? What we're experiencing now is what we're going to experience for the rest of our lives. Or we can fucking nip it in the bud. Let's get this war won. We didn't start this war, but we will end it. That's what I've got to say on the matter. Let's see what you peaceniks think about all that. We've got Alistair Kerm in the chat. No worries, my friend. I had the same problems. Do you? What? BUFC, did we, when we went to Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Falklands, probably missed a few, and Vietnam as well, almost forgot. We didn't go to Vietnam, and Falklands was an amazing success that got rid of the military junta that had been ruling Argentina since the days of fucking Juan Perón, which murdered any left-wingers in Argentina who were fermenting for change. Yeah, they were murdered. They were rounded up and killed. They were thrown out of aeroplanes. It was a brutal military junta that was running Argentina at the time. And because they were so unpopular at home, they thought, oh, I know, we'll invade the Falkland Islands. That'll show up support for us. This is what failing regimes do all the time. It's why Putin invaded Ukraine in the first place, because he felt his star was fading. The Russian constitution wouldn't allow him to just continue being leader for the rest of his life, which is what he wanted. And he said, oh no, we've got to invade Ukraine, and then we've got to say it's an emergency, and I have to stay leader for life, because who else is going to lead you? And he gets everyone behind him because of the rally round the flag effect of going to war, going and invading someone else's country. But here's the thing, the invasion of Afghanistan wasn't necessarily to occupy Afghanistan and take it over and turn everyone into Afghanistan into little British people who believed in Christianity, for instance. It was to get rid of the Taliban, and it was a failure. It was a failure because they didn't want us there. And eventually, what's happening in Ukraine, that's going to be a failure as well for Russia, because the Ukrainian people don't want them there. It's very, very hard to keep a group of people under any kind of control when they do not want to be controlled by those people. It's a money black hole. You know, you can have like a group of people who don't want to be ruled by Russia, and you're going to have them working and making money for your economy. They're going to put in the minimum amount of effort. You're going to have sabotage every other day. You're going to have things just blowing up and going on fire, and just people are just not going to be it's going to be a money hole for Russia to try and hold on to Ukraine. They don't want to hold on to Ukraine. What they want is to install a fascist leader, a fascist right-wing dictator like Putin, who loves killing people. I just love killing, and put him in charge. Some pro-Putin nutcase, like the equivalent of a Ukrainian Trump. That's what they want to do. And then they can say, okay, we don't care what you do, because you go, oh, your morals are aligned with ours. But there are some instances where, in the last, even in my lifetime, where we've gone in and it's done what it needed to do. The first Gulf War, they invaded Kuwait. They murdered a bunch of Kuwaitis for no reason. They used the big golf ball on a stick in the middle of Kuwait City as target practice. And the Coalition of the Willing, or whatever it was, went in and said, no, not doing this. Get out. And they were going to pursue them all the way to Baghdad, but they didn't. And they said, okay, we'll leave them there, which, I think that is a respectable decision, because they said, what is it that we want to do here? Do we want to take over Iraq? No, that would be mad. That would be absolute madness, which years later it would be madness. No, we just want to get them out of this country, this sovereign country that they have invaded without permission, which came as a bit of a shock to the Saudi Arabians, who had always been on Iraq's side during the Iran-Iraq War, which led to 1 million people dying, by the way, in the 1980s, and the first use of trench warfare since World War I. But, a war in which we in the West supplied both sides with ammunition and arms. Isn't that mad? We supplied both sides of it in a war. We were like, yeah, we'll sell them to anyone. Yeah, true. Anyway, Sierra Leone, when Freetown looked like it was going to fall to the militias that had come over the border from Liberia and were taking over the country by force with these child soldiers that were forced to do the most horrific things to people in order to blood them in. I mean, the stories of Sierra Leone, there's a book called Boy Long Gone, I think, and it talks about this kid's experiences of being in that war, and it's a difficult read. It's a difficult read. British went in to evacuate diplomats, and they said, "Oh, actually, we could probably stop this war if we just turned up and, as a squaddy with all the gear on, and it stopped the war. The thousands and thousands of people were liberated because the British said, "Okay, we'll stop this now," because we could, and we did, and it was a success. Bosnia, Sarajevo, Mostar, liberated by NATO forces, by NATO, because they were being massacred by the Serbians. And then they turned their attention to the Kosovo region, which was part of Yugoslavia. It was, and they said it's part of Serbia now, which it was a bit mad because Kosovo used to be part of Albania, and that's why there's so many ethnic Albanians there, because until the 1910s, it was officially part of Albania until it was absorbed into Yugoslavia in the years following. And so that was a case where British troops from peacekeeping forces, if you want to call them that, went in and stopped civilians from being massacred, stopped civilians from being murdered. I would like to see this happening in Gaza. I would like a coalition of the willing to stop the butchery that is going on by the Israelis in Gaza. It's not going to happen, but I'd like it to. UN peacekeepers going in and saying to the Israelis, Netanyahu, isn't it? Saying, no, you're not doing this anymore. We're not playing this game. Innocent people are dying left, right, and center, but we don't. We allow things to play out because we don't want to get involved, because look at all the times in the past where it has fucked up, where we've gone in somewhere and it's not gone the way we'd hoped it would go. We can point to times when that has happened, many times when that's happened, in fact. But still, I mean, that this is the option. Do you do nothing and allow a horrible situation to continue on until what? Gaza is ground into the dirt, until Ukraine is completely overrun by Russian mercenaries and their rape gangs. These people who... What happened in Bucha is just... If you read up about it, you'll find it hard to sleep, what they did. And this wasn't some crime that was committed 100 years ago, a million miles away. This was a crime that was committed 3 years ago on European soil, and no one's been taken to task for it. There's been no justice. There's been no restorative justice for what happened. And this is why, I am quite hawkish today. I feel like we should go in. I feel like we should put Putin back in his box. Put him back in his box. Put him back in the 1990s where he belongs. When Russia was, finding its feet, and we tried to help. That's probably the worst thing of all this. We gave Russia massive fucking loans to get itself back on its feet. And they took that money and they divided it amongst the oligarchs, and they all bought massive yachts, and they all stole the resources of Russia and divvied it up amongst themselves, amongst Putin's mates. And he said to them, you got a choice. You can either, kiss the ring, or I'll throw you in jail. That's, or worse, throw you out of a window. And the oligarch said, okay, Putin, we will kiss the ring. And he said, anything I want to do will be pleasurable for you, and you will support me, and you will never say any words of criticism about me. You will never breathe a word of criticism, or you will lose everything. And when Putin says you will lose everything, he doesn't just mean like he's going to throw you in jail. He means that he is going to massacre your family in front of you and make you watch, and then kill you. Because that's what he does, because the guy's a fucking monster. And people's defending him, they may as well be defending the Yorkshire Ripper, or the Moors murderers, or Dr. Shipman. Butchers, cold-blooded butchers, or Adolf Eichmann. Oh, but they had to invade Ukraine because there were Nazis there? Fuck me. Anyway, I'm going to jump into the chat now. Happy equinox, guys. I'm going to the dentist for filling, so I'll catch up later. Hope you enjoy the sunshine today. Oh, is it equinox today? Equinox. That's for people who are old enough to remember that. I'm going to jump over to the papers in a moment because everyone just seems to be saying good morning to each other. Anyone want to fight? Daily Mail. Biological sex erased from official data. Reviews find sex replaced by gender in health and crime records. Okay. What being in space for 288 days really does to your body, it fucks it basically, and which is why we don't want to be going to Mars anytime soon because it's such a long journey to get there, and then once you're there, it's kind of a one-way journey, and there are constant particles streaming from the sun which are deflected when you're on this planet by our wonderful magnetic fields, but you don't have them up in space, so they punch little holes in your body. Yeah, they make your hips go all kind of porous because they punch loads of little tiny, atom-sized holes in your pelvis. And good luck giving birth after spending a year in space. That's all I can say about that. Mother who believes her child's tantrums are caused by trauma in a past life. Maybe it's your child's trauma in this life, having you as a mother. And spare our tech companies or face new tariffs, US tells Britain. Britain is being pressed by the US to drop an £800 million a year tax affecting Silicon Valley giants. I think we should say piss off. If you trade here, if you make money in this country, you should have to pay bloody tax. I have to pay tax. I have to pay tax on my earnings off YouTube. If any of you kind people are kind enough to, like Veg Pie just did. Great timing, Veg Pie. Any of you kind enough to give me a super chat, I've got to pay tax on that. Well, over forget 12 grand in a year, which is would be nice. I've got to pay tax on that. Why do I have to pay tax on my earnings from YouTube, but YouTube doesn't have to pay tax on its massive profits? Civil service activism erasing sex data. All right, whatever. Trump eyes takeover of Ukraine's atomic sites. White House has moved beyond minerals deal. I mean, just what is he playing at? It's like having a demented, psychotic Del Boy Trotter, like running the fucking free world. What is happening? Oh, and also there's a man and a woman on the front cover of the Times. You'll see them again in other papers, so I thought I'd just point it out. Oh, there's a man and a woman there. And then there's this gobshite up here. Sorry, Kemi, Trump proves reality TV works. And there's a picture of the chinless wonder. That is Nigel Farage looking for all intents and purposes like I don't know, someone slowly morphing into a sandworm. Criminals free to pick their own gender. Labour will not force police to record biological sex despite reports finding. That's not the case. It's not the case. You need a gender recognition certificate, which is your gender. You can't just turn up and say, I'm a woman, I want to go to a woman's gender. It doesn't work that way. What kind of world do these people live in where they think that I can just turn up and say, oh, yeah, I'd like to go to a women's jail, please, for the crimes I've committed? Tell me to fuck off. What the hell? Anyway, so yeah, we've got Richard Herring here. I've become a gentle parent. I raise my voice once a month. EU ready to strike new defence pact with Britain to keep Putin at bay. Good. Diagnosis podcast addiction. The truth about what they do to your brain. So we've got the truth about what being in space does to your body, and the truth about what podcasts do to your brain. Fucking hell, must be a slow news day. No new tax hikes next week, but future benefit cuts now likely. And again, I hope this is just scaremongering from the newspaper. Gun laws tightened as teenage killer jailed. This is a horrific story about a lad who wanted to go and murder a bunch of children in a school, and he bought a gun in order to do it. And he murdered his brother and his sister and his mum, I think, or his dad. He murdered 3 people with a gun that he got with a fake license that he printed out on using Photoshop or something. So yeah, we need those gun laws tightening. Thank you very much, because I don't want that happening ever again. France to hand citizens a guide on what to do if we're invaded, which I talked about yesterday. Daily Express here. Evil family killer forced to hear his fate. An evil killer who slaughtered his family and planned the biggest massacre of the 21st century was ordered to hear his fate in court. Good. That's the way it should be. These at the moment there's a rule saying that you can be absent when you're getting your sentencing. I don't think that should happen anymore. You should have to be there. And then we've got Ines de la Guz. Don't know who that is. Fashion loved me most at my skinniest, says Guardian, just helping people to, get, I don't know, just kind of sort of eating disorders there. Yeah, great. Thanks, Guardian. That's really cool. Can we treat like this whole fetishization of being super skinny? Can we treat that a bit like when people take their own lives and we have to report it in a responsible way to stop copycats, to stop people going, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, I think I'll do that. Can we do that? Biggest cuts since austerity era as Reeves tries to plug budget deficit. This is a report from of one of the people in there is Pippa Carrera, who was a big name during she was the one who brought out found out about the parties in Downing Street when you couldn't visit your dying relatives. Greenpeace faces huge bill after legal defeat. And a jury in North Dakota has decided that environmental group Greenpeace must pay hundreds of millions of dollars to the pipeline firm Energy Transfer and is liable over defamation and other claims over protests in the state nearly a decade ago. Jesus. Zelensky and Trump in positive phone call here. And Ukrainian servicemen arrive home after being freed in an exchange of prisoners of war between Kyiv and Moscow yesterday. No apology, no shame. I'll do it again. Hancock defends COVID, VIP lane and PP deals for Tories' pals. No shame whatsoever. But someone who is, he is the worst of us, Matt Hancock. He's a man who failed his way to the top. He's a guy who went to private school, obviously, and that's how he got so far in life. Gareth Southgate didn't go to private school, and he says we have to show our young men that character matters, not money or status. He's absolutely right. And what would help, if we want to do that, is by having people who don't really care about money and status, who care about character, not saying like myself necessarily, but, like me, on the internet, being paid to do this kind of thing. Being paid to fucking put these messages out there, because at the moment the internet, the podcast sphere, the YouTube sphere is absolutely dominated by the right, but like it's 99% to 1% in some cases. So and another super chat appears. I don't talk about you should give me more money, and then more money appears. Thank you very much. Questionable absurdity. That is very, very kind of you. Question mark Santi says, sperm motility decreased after exposure to microgravity and ionizing radiation. Total sperm count also found to be reduced by microgravity only. Sperm DNA fragmentation increased by both ionizing radiation and microgravity. You're just fitting the same thing 3 times there in different ways. Thanks very much, Questionable Insanity, for the £20 super chat. And yes, being in space fucks you up. Because what ionizing radiation is, and I know this isn't technically true, but this is kind of what it is. You have to imagine it's millions of little tiny bullets, okay? But imagine a bullet that's the size of an atom, right? Or the size of an electron, or the size of a neutrino, and it's blasting a hole through your body. It just goes straight through your body, straight through, all the way through. And that is happening constantly, and it's blasting holes in you. Now, in the case of a neutrino, an actual neutrino, they go through the whole Earth and don't barely interact with matter at all. It's very unusual if they do. It's why they're so hard to detect. You need a lake full of one particular element in the chlorine or something. You need to see if it changes one atom of that chlorine lake, because it gets hit by a neutrino. And But yeah, it's essentially, that's it. That's the way you got to look at it. So anything that's radioactive is firing out billions of little bullets in all directions because it's radioactive. And if you touch it, it'll blow a load of holes in your hand and just tear all your innards to mush. It's a horrible way to die. It's a horrible way to die. Financial Times here. Istanbul anger. Erdogan rival held by police. Erdogan being a big fascist as usual. And why Bezos had a change of heart on Trump is written at the top of the Financial Times, but you can read that. Half awake Europe longs to ignore the alarm. Yes, that's basically what I've been talking about today a lot. Fed slashes growth forecast as Trump tariffs cast shadow over US economy. So a big shift from December outlook. Inflation projections bumped up. Central bank leaves rates on hold. This is about the Federal Reserve in America, not not the Bank of England, which is due to keep interest rates the same at 4.5% today, apparently. So we'll have to look out for that. EU locks out UK, US, and Turkish arms makers from 150 euro spending splurge, which is a bit shit that we're locked out of that. And that's because we're not part of the EU anymore, which was a stupid decision taken, forced upon us by posh, privately educated dickheads because he knew it wouldn't affect them and it would help their mate, Vladimir Putin. Dancing dolphins show as astronauts splash down. What a flippering fab welcome home. This is brilliant. So this is the astronauts who were stuck up in space for over 200 days and they've come back down and a couple of dolphins came out to check out what was going on. Dolphins, very intelligent and also very curious. Stopped on massacre mission, killer who planned school spree. And it was apparently it was a bit of a sliding doors moment that he got caught, which meant that he didn't get to carry out the massacre he wanted, but he did massacre his family, and we need to have stronger gun laws to stop that from ever happening again. Joanna says alpha, which you spelt wrong there. Joanna, sorry, it's ALPH. Sorry, I'm just winding up Joanna here. Alpha equals helium ion, beta equals electron gamma, high energy photon, not neutrino. If you're talking about solar wind, then yeah, mostly protons. Yeah, I was saying the size of these little bullets going through you. Gallifreyan Wren, are they living their best lives in spite of her shows? What class act they are. My mum loved the movies and watching them with her is a fond memory, but I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry to hear that, Gallifreyan Wren. My dad never used to go to the cinema when I was growing up. He just hated all modern films, and I think the first film I ever went to see at the cinema, it was a screening of with my dad. It was a screening of Citizen Kane, and because it was an old movie, he was happy to go and see it in Manchester. He came up to the corner house to watch it, and one of the lecturers who taught film studies in either Manchester Met or in Manchester Uni, did a talk before the film, and it was brilliant because he pointed out all the things to look out for in the film. Because obviously, we'd all seen it before, but I'd never seen it on the big screen, and it was brilliant. It was just, and it's a really fond memory of mine. I don't necessarily remember all the times I went to the cinema. I've been to the cinema a lot in my life, but that particular one with my dad really sticks out for me. Later in life, he did go and see a few more movies. He went to see The Aviator with Howard Hughes, obviously Howard Hughes, Graham Hughes, and he liked that. He watched Rush with Thor, what's his name, Chris Hemsworth, about the battle between Niki Lauda and James Hunt. And he went to see that, and he came out and he was like, "Oh, that was bollocks." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, they were really good friends. They lived together in London. They were boss mates. Why are they making out like they were massive rivals?" And I'm like, artistic license, I guess. They wanted to have a little bit of pressure in the film. If they'd just been mates all along, where would the tension be between these two driving rivals? But yeah, it was nice to think they were big rivals who hated each other and then they became friends and after the event. Gallifreyan Wren, I've read that one, sorry. Chris Cease has agreed. Love the casting for the Potter movies, just a shame she went and lost all her marbles. Yeah. Do you know what? If she just lost the marbles, that'll be fine. That'll be great. I'll take it. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, okay, she's lost the marbles. What can you do? Yeah, maybe she's just started talking to her plants or something, that'll be fine. Go off you rocker. I don't mind, but she didn't, did she? She had to take it out on everybody else. She had to push for this world that we're living in now, where the Pentagon is deleting anything with the word woman in it or gender. And they're saying, they said, trans people are deleting women. They're erasing women. Meanwhile, the Trump administration are literally erasing women scientists from databases. They're literally erasing them. And women scientists have a hard enough time as it is. I mean, most of the big breakthroughs in, radioactivity. I know Marie Curie did get her kudos, but that was only because her husband Pierre really pushed for it. But you got people like Rosalind Franklin, who discovered the structure of DNA. She photographed it, but Crick and Watson got all the pundits, they plaudits, whatever they got, not a pundit, a plaudit. They got the Nobel Prize. She didn't. That happened time and time again. Have a look at how Einstein treated his first wife. OMG, and she did a lot of the mathematics for him, and she never got any of the credit for it. She was probably smarter than he was. And he treated her like shit, like worse than shit. But yeah, and so J.K. Rowling started this ball rolling towards what we have now with Trump in charge of the White House and saying, "Oh, we can't even talk about women anymore. They've taken away women's rights. They've taken away women's right to choose, women's rights for abortion. That they want to take away women's rights to not, little girls' rights not to have their genitals inspected by a random man to see if they can play sports. So what's going to happen? The kids aren't going to play sports anymore. Of course they're not. So you're worried about the one trans athlete who competed in the Olympics. That's a big upset, right? But you're not particularly bothered about young girls not being able to play sports at all because of the misogyny that the anti-trans rhetoric has foisted in to society. Nice. Thanks for that. A lot of people never forgave James Hunt for winning the championship the year Lauder had his accident. Yeah, but Nicky Lauder came back and he won the year after, didn't he, or something? I mean, James Hunt kind of retired after that. But, I mean, it was all I think that most of the rivalry in Formula One is generally amped up a little bit more than it actually is. But with the possible exception of Hamilton and Max Verstappen, I think they really hate each other. I might be wrong, but I think Lewis Hamilton's never going to get over the fact that they set things up so Verstappen would win in the last race of the championship of the Grand Prix season last couple of years ago, and therefore he won the whole season. He won the championship, and I don't think that Hamilton's ever going to forgive that. I think he's still aggrieved. I think he needs to get over it, and then he might be a better driver again. Joanna says, sometimes I think the USA is heading towards becoming Gilead. I think they read The Handmaid's Tale, and they read it as an instruction booklet more than anything else. Leanne Scott, it's the bitter, twisted angle that's diabolical. Oh, yeah, it is. It's just, I'm talking about J.K. Rowling, I assume, but yeah, she's just, why so bitter? What happened? Oh, she was abused by a cisgender man, which is horrible, and my heart goes out to her. But it was a cisgender man; it wasn't a trans woman. Anyway, Verstappen is a knob. Lewis was cheated of his ace title. I know. Nigel Mansell, fastest moustache on four wheels. I still remember it was the early 90s. It was when Murray Walker was still doing the commentary, and he was just so excitable. It was brilliant. I mean, I liked his enthusiasm in the same way that I liked the enthusiasm of Steve Irwin. It got you into it. Got so excited. I just remember, I think it was the last match of the season, and it all came down to this. And Nigel Mansell was like 2 laps ahead on the final lap. And I remember Murray Walker saying, "Nothing can stop him now." And then, his engine blew up and all the fucking wheels fell off his car and he never finished. And I was like, what the hell, Murray? Why did you jinx it? Yeah. Anyway, fun times. Where are we? Amazing. They all benefited from said education, so okay for them, not anybody else. Well, yeah, indeed. I really want to have a talk about, not a talk, like a white paper or whatever they call it, in Parliament, talking about giving more state kids sort of more of an experience that people, like kids have in these private schools. Being able to go and play golf and cricket and whatever, forcing the private schools to share their facilities, but also forcing these private schools to teach kids who go to state schools, well, not necessarily teach them directly, but get them to be part of public speaking and debating, which is something they push really hard for in lots of private schools around the country, but they don't even mention it in state schools. And I think that is really, really important that people learn that, kids learn to stand up in front of a crowd of people and make a speech. And there's going to be some people who are naturally, they don't like doing it. It gives them anxiety or whatever, so don't force it on anyone. But for those who are good at it, they need to be encouraged, because we need more voices that didn't go to a posh private school. I'm kind of getting a little bit sick of going on TikTok and seeing people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth telling us workers, people in trade unions, what they should do. It's a bit like, you didn't have to do that, You didn't have to. Yeah. Not that I'm in a trade union, but you know what I mean. Later, thank you all for the company. It is needed and appreciated, says Scott. See you later, mate. Take care. I hope I didn't miss you there at the end. There was great rivalry between Hunt and Ladder while they were racing, but they became great friends after. Read a couple of biographies of both. They used to live together. They used to live together in London at the height of their rivalry, which was a bit weird. You can imagine the breakfast table. They should have included that in the film. That would be really funny. Sadly, education isn't about learning about the world and the many wonderful cultures. It's about teaching. It isn't about teaching critical skills. No, education is all about how to pass exams and comply. Well, it is in private schools a lot. They concentrate on getting the kids to pass exams, whereas state schools have to follow the national curriculum. Don't forget, private schools don't have to follow the national curriculum. They can teach whatever they want as long as they get the kids through the exams. A rich cousin of mine, a public school boy, visited us as a kid, and he said, "This is what it's like to live in a council home." Oh my God. Nice. I remember when I was at school, we had lots of after schools, chess club, debate clubs, electronic clubs. Do these not exist anymore? They not to the same extent that they used to. And like at my stepdaughter's school, she's in secondary school now, and they don't have a debating society. They don't have a coding club or something after school. They just don't have them. I don't even think they've got a chess club, which is a bit shit. The plan is that AI will replace us all. AI will be teaching now. It says AI chemist. Yeah. Are you AI? Oh, sorry, alchemist. Sorry, I read your name wrong. It's a little joke there because you were talking about AI. I'll get my coat. Taxi. Anyway, yeah, I don't think AI is going to replace everything. It's like thinking that the internet was going to replace everything, or computers were going to replace everything. I mean, every 20 years we get a thing that's going to replace everything, and it doesn't. It just makes things more efficient. It just makes things better for us because we've got more tools. We can do more stuff as individuals, but everyone can wield a pen. Everyone can wield a pen. Everyone can pick up a pad. But not everyone can write a best-selling memoir, I know I certainly can't. One Angry Pagan says, my education continued when I went home too. I love learning, as always. I always have done. Yeah, I loved learning more than I loved school. Like, school for me was great. I enjoyed it. I didn't I didn't have a bad experience in school. I know a lot of people did. I didn't, and I feel very fortunate that I didn't. But I actually enjoyed it because I was just dicking around all the time. I was just making people laugh. I was just having fun, yeah, I still like finding out things, and I think I think there's a balance, maybe in my head. It just there's an unease that comes from not knowing stuff that I have, and it's a weird. I'm sure some of you have the same thing, but when I don't understand something or something doesn't sound right or something, my brain just goes, "Oh my God," it just we've got to find out more about this. Go on, find out more about this. And it's probably why, I do react in such a visceral way when I see just bullshit on the internet, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound right. And then I research it myself a little bit. I love it when right-wingers tell me to do my research. Do your research, Graham? I'm like, I've got a degree in politics and history, and I've been to every country in the world. What more research do you want me to do? I host a politics channel. Speak to people every day. I met all these politicians. I interviewed members of the government. I've been for a pint with ministers. I mean, like the idea that I don't know what's going on, and if only I read the Daily Mail, I would know what's going on. Supposes that I live in a world where the Daily Mail isn't forced down my throat every bloody day, because we have to see what the papers have to say about everything, don't we? Or where, LBC exists, and literally everyone on that channel now is privately educated, posh person who generally votes Tory. And we have to hear the news filtered through their lens. We have to have suffered dickheads ringing up and talking a load of bollocks and not being challenged at all by the right-wing privately educated presenter, because it kind of aligns with the right-wing privately educated presenter's beliefs on stuff. Anyway, right, I've got to go now. Got loads of stuff happening on the house today, so I've got to go and help. The workmen have let themselves in and just they're making a cup of tea in the other room. I can hear them. So yeah, we'll go and help them out making their cup of tea so they can get started. I'll be back at 6 o'clock tonight with Hughes of the World, where we're going to be travelling to the far-flung nation of Czechia, which used to be called the Czech Republic, which used to be called Czechoslovakia. It's the last of the C's countries. I'll be starting on the D's next week. So this is going to be the 45th episode. There's only 193 countries in the world, although I am going to do a few that aren't members of the UN in the world. I am going to be doing a few more. I'll be doing Vatican City, I'll be doing Palestine, etc., and Taiwan. So I'll probably be doing 197 episodes. In fact, I might, should the feeling take me, I might do 201 episodes of it and break down England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the 4 countries, rather than doing the UK as one episode. So yeah, anyway, so I'll be back at 6 o'clock tonight. I'll be doing Hughes of the World, in which I'll be talking about my experiences in Czechia, the history of the place, which is fascinating, a crossroads of Europe. And yeah, I first went to Czechoslovakia in 1990, I think. I think it was the summer of 1990 when it was still Czechoslovakia before it split into. So join me for that at 6 o'clock tonight. But if you can't be asked, if you've got all the shit to do, fair enough. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Morning, Brew. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for the super chats. Until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and give us a like on the way out. Give us a like. Give us a like before I forget to say this. Give us a like. Thanks. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.